Okay, more coming in here. Apparently, the snipers, the arch criminals in Dallas, attended a South Dallas mosque. No, say no more, Bill. Say no more. Details trickling in. Meanwhile, on July 3rd, which was just 5 days ago, right? There was a protest by locals in Dallas against this mosque and its hate preaching. But police actually protected the mosque that particular day. Oh, well, thank you very much, infidel. Now I will shoot you for protecting me. I just. Where is the media? Why aren't they telling you about all of this? Instead, Barack Obama says, "Oh, I'm going to take your guns away. I'm going to come door to door. And if you don't surrender them, I'm going to have my wife look at you. And then, of course, you'll be so frightened you'll give me everything you've got." 9:45. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. All right, if it turns out that these are angry Muslims, what should we do? Should we continue to bury our head in the sand, or should we start taking seriously that people in this country who are either converting or coming into this country are now fifth columnists who are going to be running asymmetrical warfare in our own country against us? My friends, we've got to be asking some serious questions here. I just happened to read today. It's in this Rush Limbaugh likes to say he's got something called his colossal stack of stuff. Let me see if I can go through this. Because I didn't figure we'd get to, I saved a lot of material for doing a regular show today, which this week we haven't gotten to so many things. I mean, people who want to marry their computers. I've got stuff here on global cooling instead of global warming. But I know that I saved something here. Here it is. Daily Caller. The White House announced last week that it is launching a call to action asking private businesses to help with the resettlement of refugees. This could be done without regard to the government cap of 85,000 total. Oh, so in other words, we haven't brought nearly enough in. Maybe we could bring in 10, 20, 30 million. 15 founding corporations have teamed up with the Obama White House on the effort. I'm going to read you some of these names. See if any of them sound familiar. And they could be bringing violence to a community near you. 15 founding corporations, and they're in alphabetical order. Accenture. I don't know who Accenture is. I suppose I could look that up. Airbnb. Chobani. Coursera. Goldman Sachs, Google, HP, IBM, JP Morgan Chase, LinkedIn, Microsoft, MasterCard, UPS, TripAdvisor, and Western Union. Call to Action initiative is not only to help refugees in the U.S., but all over the world. Did you recognize any of those companies? Are any of them close to home? Can we read the first three again? Accenture? Well, no. Airbnb? No. Chobani? Ding, 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 ding. In Europe, for example, the writer at Daily Caller says MasterCard worked with Mercy Corps to distribute prepaid. That would be if the president were saying it would be Mercy Corps. Well, at least the smartest man to ever occupy the White House just asked the mainstream media. They make fun of Sarah Palin for occasionally discombobulating a word, and the president says Marine Corps, and nobody dares criticize him. Well, that would be racist, William. We can't do that. Approximately $75,000 was distributed to nearly 400 families and individuals, so they're getting a free lunch already. Why? They're suddenly instantly Democrats. The three main facets of this private partnership program are education, employment, and enablement. What are we enabling them to do? Well, they can join the South Dallas Mosque, and then they can go out and shoot police officers. But Bill, those police officers are bad because 1,000 miles away, we have half a tape of an incident in Minnesota where a police officer apparently shot a black man sitting in his car. Police officer may have been Latino in that shooting, we should know. No, say no more again, Bill. Well, that he couldn't possibly be a racist. I said earlier, isn't it amazing that the girlfriend sat in the car and said, "This is my boyfriend. He has just been shot. Take a look at his bleeding clothing. I bought him this shirt several months ago, and now it's going to be stained." Why was she so incredibly calm during all of that, while the police officer is freaking out over the shooting? I'm going to make this videotape for political reasons, and then instead of grieving, I'm going to go to a rally at the state capitol and talk nonchalantly about it as well. Because I love my boyfriend here, who gave me this wonderful child in the back seat out of wedlock. And that police officer over there was very bad. And I will grieve at some point, but first I'd like to make the video. And by the way, have you seen the number of hits I have on YouTube? I am now a celebrity. This again from the Daily Caller. The White House mentions that companies can help refugees get access to financial services, technology, housing, and transport. What type of technology? I would like to buy 3,000 pounds of fertilizer. Where may I find the detonators? This also includes covering costs of charter flight to bring resettled refugees to the United States or to another country of resettlement. Here's a quote. These refugees will be coming outside the refugee resettlement program, so they would not be counted under the government cap. These alternative legal pathways or sponsorships will be underemployment visas, training student visas, and scholarships, visiting scholars, etc. So you're going to bring in some illiterate Bedouin, and you're going to say, well, he's actually here. We're sending him off to Harvard, yeah. And he's going to get an education and someday be a doctor. There will be a little remedial work, though, because we have to train him to read and write in his own language first before we can train him to read and write in English. Although, I got a better solution to that. We'll make everybody else speak the language we train him in, and then he won't have to worry about English, you see? Then when you call his office, instead of dial 1 for Spanish, 2 for English, you can also dial 3 for Arabic. But you'll have to learn the language instead of him. And if you force him to learn English, well, it just might make him mad, and we wouldn't want to do that. 9:51, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. We are going to see a warm-up in the temperature for the first time in a few days. We are going to see a little rain and cooler temperatures on Sunday, which no one's going to complain about, a little rain at this time of the year. But we still have some hot temperatures ahead of us before the end of summer, which is why we've been telling you, if you are having some issues with your air conditioning unit, or if you think you could and you just would like to get the service done, you know, the old line, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. If you'd like that done and you'd like that thing to keep humming along through the rest of the summer, you need to give a telephone call to Ramsey Heating and Electric and let the pros take care of your AC unit, actually your whole heating and cooling unit, as most people have now. Make sure the job is done right the first time and set yourself up for a great summer. You can see Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, or give them a telephone call at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. That's Ramsey Heating and Electric. Did I point out that the shooters in Dallas were Muslims? 736-0300. 736-0300. No, Bill, they're just angry gun owners, and if they didn't have guns... This thing is going to spin out of control, and it's going to be interesting watching President Obama do the game of Twister. The gyrations they do between his administration and the Hillary Clinton campaign to try and get around these issues is actually, it's the verbal version of playing Twister. You know, they're stretching all over the place, trying not to fall over, and luckily mainstream media comes along and props them up. I was mentioning earlier that there were a lot of people who were witnesses to what happened last night in Dallas, and here's a fellow who's explaining to Fox News, well, a little bit of, I guess, the mayhem that was taking place.
There was about 1,000 people in the protest, I would estimate. All of a sudden, the protest just split into two, people running in every direction.
Well, I guess I would be doing the same thing if someone was shooting at me. I don't know how much longer. A caller said a few minutes ago that, we're on the cusp of civil war in this country. Barack Obama, if you recall all of those flowery speeches he made way back in 2008, then he was saying, that there are no Democrats, there are no Republicans, there are no black Americans, there are no white Americans, we're just Americans. Where did that all break down, and when did it break down, and who really took him seriously when he was saying all of that? Because the man has created a situation in this country. If he walks away from the Oval Office after having set the country ablaze, Walter Williams. Sure, some of you are familiar with Walter Williams. When he was younger, he used to guest host a lot for Rush Limbaugh. Walter Williams, I guess, is probably now in his 80s. Economist, college professor, conservative. And can we point out Walter Williams is also a black man? But Walter Williams said that when Barack Obama was elected, he said, "I'm highly disappointed." And he said, I'm going to tell you a little story about Jackie Robinson. There may have been better ball players than Jackie Robinson who could have integrated Major League Baseball in the late 1940s. Now, Walter Williams is old enough to remember Jackie Robinson coming up from the minor leagues and then playing with the Brooklyn Dodgers. But he said Robinson was the right guy because, A, he'd been a military officer, college degree, he'd been a college football star, not necessarily baseball. So he was this all-American type of guy. And when they decided to bring him up, Branch Rickey, who was running the Dodgers at the time, said, "I'm going to tell you right now, this is not going to be easy because it's not just going to be the fans who are going to be spitting at you and throwing things at you and calling you names. It's going to be other players." And indeed, he was right. You had the Philadelphia Phillies who would taunt Robinson from the dugout. At one point, even threatened not to play the Dodgers because Robinson was suiting up. And even had teammates who didn't want him there. Robinson could have gotten angry and smacked somebody in the face, but he had the type of restraint in his personality that he went ahead, and for the first 2 or 3 years he was in the big leagues, he put up with it. By the time he finally hauled off and smacked somebody, he was already an accepted member of the baseball fraternity and considered to be one of the best baseball players in all of the major leagues at the time. There could have been other people you could have brought along, but they likely would not have been able to put up with all of the grief. And I'm not blaming them if they had decided to haul off and smack somebody the first time someone called them a bad name. But in Walter Williams' view, Barack Obama was not Jackie Robinson. And Williams said, from a personality standpoint, because Obama's a very prickly personality, he's condescending. He's always lecturing people. You're wrong, he's right. And in Walter Williams' view, we needed someone, if you were going to have the first black president, as the media calls him, even though that's really only partially what he is, and he's not African-American in the sense that he's got no slave ancestors, father being from Kenya, a student who came over here to study. But the argument from Walter Williams was this. There were better options out there, and we didn't get those options. We got Barack Hussein Obama instead, and now we're paying dearly for it. We have a caller with us, probably my last caller of the day. It's coming up on 9:57. You're up next on KLIX.
I was just wondering, when did they start having police officers use high explosives or bombs? When did this start?
Should we take them away from them so more of them can be killed?
When did they start doing this? This is unreasonable. What's next? They're going to say they're going to blow up our houses if we don't surrender our guns?
Unreasonable? Because I think 5 of them being shot is unreasonable by a black Muslim.
It doesn't matter.
I think they should have used a flamethrower on the guy.
No, they shouldn't use a flamethrower because they're police. They're not army.
Well, okay, so they should just stand there and take the bullets. Gosh, gee willikers, I think it's great that you're out there reminding us of all of that. President Obama has already mostly disarmed the police officers who received all of that weaponry following 9/11, and everyone said they were being militarized. They don't have that available any longer. The fact that they have flash grenades, they use them all the time. I remember being a reporter covering a story where a guy was inside a home and firing outside at police officers in Syracuse, New York, way, way back when I was a younger fellow. And they got him to stop doing it. They threw a flash grenade inside. Boom! And then they came in and they dragged him out and they hauled him off to jail where he belonged. The fact that they blew this guy to smithereens, he was blowing them to smithereens for crying out loud. That's not that their job is not there to stand there and be cannon fodder to make you feel better. They cannot protect and serve us if they're dead. On the other hand, Abdul there, or Chris X, or Malcolm X, or whatever his name was, he's no longer going to harm anybody else. Thank you, though, for the libertarian viewpoint. If only Gary Johnson had been there to talk him down, they could have smoked a little reefer together, communed, and then they all would have been just fine, and we could have all said, let's let bygones be bygones. Help me clean up the blood. God willing, and the creek don't rise, they'll allow me to come back and do this all over again on Monday morning. Bill Colley with you, saying have a great weekend. And Rush Limbaugh coming up next.